All right, we're live. I really wanted to cancel this. Tonight was not a good night for Celtic fans. Holy shit. Really tough loss in MSG. I don't know how long. J. Kyle Mann is here. Joe House is here. We're going to talk about the lottery later. We're going to play off the Knicks Celtics game as well. Not going to speculate too much on the Tatum thing, but it did not look good. It Worst case scenario is an Achilles. Best case scenario is like torn ligaments in his ankle or some sort of bad ankle injury. But either way, like done for the series, and God only knows for how long. What was your reaction when you saw Kyle? Did you think Achilles right away?
I mean, I've had a lot of sports injuries, but I'm not going to pretend to know these kind of things. But the fact that we were arguing about, ankle or not, I mean, the fact that he was neutral and there was the plant and then the reverse angle where you see the pressure and then you just kind of see his ankle just kind of wobble, like the stability gave out, which made
Yeah.
me worry. But you and I were saying that, you know, the pain part of it was the interesting reaction because to me, I've never torn that. God willing, I don't go there. But his reaction to it was what made me think because every basketball player fears that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's increasingly getting more, doable and navigable, but with surgery and everything. But I think his reaction was he knew. That's kind of my speculation. It was he knew what it was, and it was just that like, holy shit, why me kind of a thing,
Right.
less than a writhing in pain type thing.
Yeah, House. Usually with the Achilles, the guy almost doesn't seem like they knew it happened, and they grab like for something behind their thing. So I was studying it like, well, he's grabbing the side of his ankle. Maybe it's not, but it doesn't look great. And the irony of it was that was one of the best games of his career up to that point. I mean, he's single-handedly kept the Celtics in that game for 3+ quarters and was outrageously good.
That's the bummer. We were being treated finally in this game four to the mano y mano that we basketball fans deserved. We were waiting for a Brunson game, and then Tatum was there to match him blow for blow, shot for shot, and that fourth quarter was getting very exciting down that stretch there, and that's it. It's over. The season's over for the Celtics, and who knows what happens over the summer and next season.
It looked like the Knicks were about to pull away when that play happened. And the irony, normal pass to Jaylen Brown, who just didn't have it the whole night. He was fouls, turnovers, and for some reason the pass just deflects off him, goes back to Tatum. Tatum jumps for it, has the injury. But the Knicks, it was really just Tatum and White tonight for the Celtics. Even before that injury, nobody else really showed up. The Porzingis minutes were horrible. The two older guys, Horford and Drew Holiday, brought nothing to the table. Pritchard didn't really give them the boost off the bench. And then conversely, Brunson was awesome. Bridges made some big, big, big little 8-10 footers. OG made a couple threes. Towns had some big minutes, even though he was getting torched on defense. Robinson had a couple rebounds. The Knicks God, they just looked like a better all around team up until the injury.
Yeah, the Porzingis thing was really glaring. I mean, in every facet, he was slow to the ball on the glass. But I know what I noticed was, on the season, it was a lot of Mikal Bridges. His strengths, his things that he's already pretty good at, were just being, exacerbated. I think amplified in this situation where he's really good at those dribble pull up twos. And this is something that goes back to his Phoenix days that I
Yeah.
remember in particular. CP3 and he would kill Porzingis with that left to right where they would sort of go through the middle of snake through the middle of that pick and roll and get to that dribble pull up shot. I mean, he was just killing Porzingis with that because Porzingis wasn't moving laterally really well. Horford wasn't either, but yeah, 48.1% on the season. I looked it up, dribble pull up too. So that's his strength, and man, he killed him with it.
Yeah, I was worried. I was really worried about this game for a bunch of different reasons. But the 1 day rest for the older guys on the Celtics versus like having the home game and then having to do it again on Wednesday night. House, when you're before the injury, you're watching it. And I was saying to you, I was worried about this game because the Knicks hadn't played a good game in this series yet. And what were the odds they were just going to go through 2 weeks and not have a good game? I thought they were pretty good tonight.
They were good, but the key, and I'm not here to rub it in anybody's face. If Porzingis isn't effective, then the Celtics, it makes it super duper hard for them to compete. They just don't have enough dudes. The Hauser injury turns out to be really impactful, and if
Yeah.
Porzingis is this version of Porzingis, then it's tough because the Knicks do have six dudes. They have six. That's exactly the number. They don't have more. It might maybe even just call it five and a half. but they are dudes. They're all dudes. And look, here's the crazy thing to me. I'm looking at the numbers here. How did the Knicks get up 13 more shots? They had 13 more
Rebounds.
attempts from the field. I know. That's right.
Yeah.
They beat them by 12 on the boards. That's the answer. It's crazy because the turnovers were pretty even, and the Celtics were getting to the free throw line. That wasn't an issue, and they both shot good from three. 38% for the Celtics, 35% for the Knicks. Those are good numbers, but 13 more attempts because the Knicks own the boards, and this is the second consecutive game where that happened. And it just goes. It's very basic. It comes back to like your dudes. Who are your dudes? Who's gonna go get a rebound when you need it?
Yeah, there was one point I looked at Tatum and White were a combined 13 for 25 from three. And then the Celtics were still like down by a point. I'm like, that's not a good sign. If you had told me that was going to be the number with 6 minutes, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, that those two guys were going to have that and they would still be losing. It's a Jalen roller coaster game. Before Tatum got hurt, I just thought he was so good on both sides. I mean, I think he had 5 steals, 2 blocks. He was all over the place, just over and over again, attacking Towns, and really kept them in it. And the irony of what happened late was that it felt like this was going to be, potentially another version of the Jason Tatum game. He's had a couple of those. Like he had the game in Milwaukee, he had the game in Philly, but this was, I thought, the best all around game I had seen him play. A couple dumb threes here and there, but for the most part, was awesome. Did the Knicks seem like a finals team to you, Kyle?
I mean, based on what's on the board, yeah.
Yeah, I guess if Tatum's going to be down.
Yeah, I just thought as for as brilliantly as Tatum played, though, he was living a tough life. I mean, 9 isolations on the game, and a lot of it was working. They talked a lot about on the broadcast that, Karl is really vulnerable in drop. He's really vulnerable side to side, but he is decent at kind of staying down and like he's long enough to contest. They were talking about how he bothered Durant. Tatum just kept working hard and he wasn't really getting by him. And a lot of the shots that he was getting to, he was making them, but he was just kind of doing his thing where he steps backwards. I don't know. It seemed like he was burning a lot of calories to just take tough shots. Sometimes they go in, but that's just kind of the Jason Tatum experience. But hey, if they all go in and he finishes that, yeah, I definitely think it's a notch in his like legacy, bullet point list.
Yeah, the offense just fell apart. In the last quarter and a half of the game where you could just feel it. You can feel when the ISO ball stuff starts, they stop running plays. They stop going, oh, let's post up Holiday in this play, or let's run a little pick and pop with Derek White. And it just becomes all one-on-one stuff, clear out, the 1-4 kind of offense, which I don't know, House.
That offense fed into a run by the Knicks. The Knicks scored 70 points in the second half. They had 37 points in the third quarter.
Yeah, so Brunson made some great shots. And the Celtics fell asleep too a couple times. Like they left him open from three. They didn't switch over in time and they just kind of let him get into a groove because you can kind of always feel when he's about to go on one of his little runs. But I thought Bridges really helped too. And I didn't think Tibbs did a good job offensively the first 3 games, but I thought they mixed it up better in this game. It felt like everybody was a little more involved. So this could go down as, we'll see what happens with Tatum, but this could go down as one of the darker Celtic days. I mean, honestly, because especially the timing of, not to mention he's at the peak of his career. He's never had a major injury, Tatum, and if this is like a major one, it doesn't just take him out for this playoffs, but it takes him out for, I think, all of next year too. As you said, he's in his late 20s, and you just wonder, like, is he going to be able to get back to the point that he was at tonight? So we'll find out.
Well, the shame of it is the Celtics should have just tanked down the stretch, got themselves into the play-in, lost in the play-in game, and then used the half of a percent chances. So like a half percent. It's a miracle what happens in the NBA. Miracles happen, Bill Simmons.
It's amazing how it shifted though from what you were talking about, Bill. Like the conversation that we were on this nice, and if you're lucky, you get to have this conversation about your career, and everything has to go right, and it just speaks how difficult it is. But Tatum gets to this point in his mid to late 20s where we're starting to have this conversation about like, well, what other levels are there left? And now it's like do we get to have that conversation again? You know, now it's shifted to, like you just spelled it out. Can he? It shifts to, can he get back? And yeah, that's, I mean, that's a huge fucking bummer, man. Because and I was just thinking, I was talking to Hal about this before we got on, that can you ever remember one night where there were more fan bases that were just absolutely depressed for a wide variety of reasons than tonight? Because I can't. Like,
Yeah, and
I
somehow House's fan base didn't crack the top two for most depressed. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with Tatum, but this speaks to A, how hard it is to win a title, B, how important injury luck is, and C, how hard it is to just put together some really good years in a row. Like, even to be in the finals 2 years in a row with how basketball is played now and how physical and intense it is. And, Tatum was playing 40, 43 minutes a night and doing everything. He was the leading rebounder in the team. He was guarding Brunson, a few times in this series. And today he was kind of their best option to guard Brunson. He was the point forward over and over again. He's attacking the rim. I thought when Hart tripped him, I thought that was a dirty play. They didn't even review it. But he was getting pounded on the whole game, and you need some luck with this stuff. We're gonna take a break for the podcast. We're gonna stay here on YouTube because the real reason you guys are on is because we're gonna talk lottery. But for the I'm going on Zach Lowe's podcast tomorrow. Zach went to the lottery, and I'm basically gonna set picks and rebounds for him as he's gonna talk about what it was like to be behind the scenes for that. So, House, you had. What were your odds? You had the second best odds?
Well, it was a flat 14% for the three worst teams. That's how they flattened out the odds to disincentivize egregious tanking. But, we're allowed to curse on this thing?
Please curse.
It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. The fat thumb comes out when the fat thumb comes out. Now, I certainly understand, there's a code and it's impossible to rig the balls, except for the last 30 fucking years have had a stunning number of miracles. I mean, let's go back to 2011 when the NBA owned the motherfucking New Orleans Hornets, and somehow, miraculously, they find an owner. David Stern vetoes a trade for Chris Paul to go to the Lakers because it's going to tilt the competitive balance of the league. David Stern vetoed it for basketball reasons. They finally find a buyer for the New Orleans Hornets. Somebody steps in and buys it from the NBA. Lo and behold, the New Orleans Hornets get the #1 overall draft pick in the league, and it's Anthony Davis. Can you believe it? Can you believe the good luck of the? I mean, we'll just go through it. I'm not going to sit here and do the whole thing, but 2013, 2014, back-to-back Cleveland #1 overall picks, and LeBron comes back in 2014, and that #1 pick turns into Kevin Love. Man, that's interesting. That's some interesting history right there. 2019.
Well, you forgot about 2011 when they had the decision, and then the year after, Cleveland won the lottery and got Kyrie Irving.
I mean, I didn't forget. I'm just saying, I don't want to subject us to the entire litany here, but I did have Tim Donaghy with me downstairs helping me remember some of these things. We're kind of mapping out, some of the very interesting. It's really a league of miracles, this NBA of ours. But yes, New Orleans trades Anthony Davis to the Lakers, and miraculous. It's another miracle. I mean, a league full of miracles. New Orleans jumps from the 7th spot in terms of the pre-draft where they should have been, right up to the #1.
So the best
Zion.
way to get the pick is to trade your best guy to the Lakers, and then the miracles will align.
Well, first of all, you're a
sacrifice
son of
a fattened calf.
Yeah, you're the son of a bitch who said that this was all going to happen back in March.
I know. House and I we had a worst contracts pod, and I did a 35-second spiel on how we had to bet on Dallas to win the lottery because it was clearly how we were headed. It's all in one of the podcasts. And House is like, "Come on, that's crazy." And it's like, it's not crazy. It's like 100-1 odds. Let's bet it. Of course, we didn't bet it.
No, we didn't bet it.
It
was 40-1 today. Should have bet it.
Man, I had a whole conspiracy Bill outfit I was gonna wear that my daughter helped picked out, but I'm so depressed after the Tatum thing. I'm not doing any props. I'm just
black.
Do you want to cry on your props? Yeah.
I'm not gonna wear the props, but this was just a hilarious outcome. I couldn't believe it when they leapt into the top four. First of all, who did it from ESPN? Kevin Negandhi. He screwed up. He said Philly lost their pick, and
Yeah.
Philly hadn't. We hadn't even found out what was going to happen.
Merry Christmas.
And then Philly goes in there. So we have three people jump into there, and it's Dallas, San Antonio, Philly, and then Charlotte was the only one that belonged. And it's just we go to commercial, and it's like, come on, Dallas isn't going to win this. Come on. There's no way. There's no way this is going to be the outcome. Stop it. Come on. What were you thinking as we got to the Final Four, other than our buddy Charks?
Oh, well, I was going to say if you saw like a live satellite image, I'm sure there were just like fires that just sort of lit up all across the map during that commercial break.
Oh,
I was
God.
I noted in my notes are pretty funny here. Well, at first I was just like, why is Zion repping the Pelicans? And then Chicago, well, when Dallas started to climb at like 10, I guess I noted it. I was like, whoa. I was like,
Yeah.
even then and then as they just continued, the Wizards obviously plummet, the Jazz plummet. What Nico has done here. It reminded me his ability to navigate is the heaviest quotes imaginable. For him to go from that to where we were tonight, it reminded me of my wife and I were on the interstate in like a torrential downpour one time, and this minivan lost control and hydroplaned and somehow miraculously avoided hitting another car. And the minivan we watched go up ahead of us, and there happened to be a ramp for a tow truck on the side of the road, and the minivan came to a complete stop unharmed on the ramp on the side of the road. And we were like, how the fuck? It was like Final Destination. That's the
Yeah.
equivalent of what Nico just did. Like he somehow did he survive? I think we've opened up there's a whole other slew of questions and options from here. But I mean, it's brutal. I mean, I can't help but think of the fans that have. I don't know what is ethical. Rob tweeted out that there are no basketball gods, and this is proof of it. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Well,
I'm feeling
listen, this is the all-time night for me to feel that way. Yeah, listen, they had 8.5% odds to move into the top four and 1.8 to win the thing. So when we went in a commercial, I was like, all right, 8.5 makes sense. Charlotte had 14. Charlotte's probably going to win. Dallas will get like 2, 3, or 4. I was more mad that Philly somehow got their bacon saved and ended up staying in the top 6. I think that was another thing, House, for conspiracy Bill. They couldn't let OKC have the 7th pick in the draft. They had to maybe do something on that. But
I mean, I'll just interrupt you for a second. This another miracle. Daryl Morey and Nico Harrison both get rewarded. 2 of the top 3 worst contract responsible for the worst outcomes in terms of their franchises during the course of this season, and both it's just a miracle that both of them land where they land. I mean, JKM had to use a real life miracle to make the analogy to the miracle that
I
we
liked
witnessed
yours
out
over.
in the NBA.
I liked yours over text, Joe. I don't know if you're willing to say it, but yours was
well,
pretty good.
I'll give you the actual numbers. The odds that the top 3 would go the way it did was 0.014. Gahao, I just realized I'm not recording. Sorry. My best player went down in a heap today. I forgot to record. Recording accident. All right, I'm recording now. Hopefully I sound okay with my mic. 0.014 for that top 3 to go the way it did, which I think says it all. And Utah somehow falls to 5. And House's stupid team, the Wizards, who were either one of the worst or second worst teams of the season, and they fall to 6. And you can't make this shit up, House.
I mean, I had the good fortune of going on with Kyle on the NBA draft show last week, and he was very kind. He said, let's do a state of the Wizards. Within all reason, we think that they're going to get one of the top 4 picks, like at the very outside. You know what pick we didn't discuss under any circumstances whatsoever? The 6th fucking pick. We didn't talk about number 6.
You didn't talk about 3 teams jumping you?
We didn't because
or 4. I guess 4 teams.
Yeah.
I thought we played the karma game pretty wisely. I mean, we were conceding like probably not the first. Let's talk about some of the lower guys, but I didn't conceive of this outcome, House. I'm sorry, man. Really sorry.
Well, because it's inconceivable, really.
Can we go through some of the Dallas stuff? Topic number 1. Did Dallas now win the trade? They traded Anthony Davis or they traded Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis and Cooper Flagg. If I presented that trade to you in January, we at least would have had a phone call about the house.
Sure. Like
I'm
it.
I'm not saying they intentionally won the trade. I'm just saying history, the way it works
Yeah.
out. It's like,
History.
all
Yeah.
right, if we're gonna trade Luka Doncic and we get Anthony Davis and Cooper Flagg, eh,
It really, just makes you really wonder because it was a no bid trade, right? It wasn't, he didn't go around and canvass the league. There's not a lot of evidence that other teams were consulted. What would you be willing to give up for Luka Doncic?
a trade that everybody thought was the
one.
fishiest trade in the history of the league when it happened. Now it's paid off for
Well,
Dallas.
I mean,
Kyle,
Pau
just
Gasol
on
under the
paper,
cover of
Anthony
night.
Davis and Cooper Flagg for Luka Doncic is in the realm of a fair basketball trade.
Yeah, I mean, I don't bristle so much at that. Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, we have something for now, and we have something in Cooper Flagg. Odds are he'll be ready to go sooner than later, based on everything that we've seen. But you
He
can
didn't,
kind of
didn't
bring him
seem
in.
happy. Didn't seem happy, by the way.
Yeah,
Cooper?
I didn't. Do you
Well,
notice the look on his face?
Two things. First of all, there's no way that Nico doesn't take Cooper, right? That would be the funniest thing. He took Ace
He
Bailey.
loves defense.
Would
so
that be the funniest thing?
Yeah,
That would be
he
the
loves
funniest
defense.
thing.
No,
But the
he's taking
second
him.
thing is Dallas isn't a great fit for a brand new play. Like the only other young guy there, timeline wise, is Lively. Like they're
Right.
super in transition. They don't have a point guard. They don't have a starting point guard right
Except
now.
he's Kyle. Just make the 45-second case that how much better he is than the next possible prospect in the lottery. Like you have to take him, right?
Yeah, the simplest way to put it is he's the most well-rounded prospect of other than he's on a short list, I would say. Him and LeBron, I'm saying, but LeBron had the shooting issues. He had a lot of things to figure out, even though the highs are higher with some of the guys, but it's just Cooper is the most well-rounded prospect of my lifetime. That's the simplest way to put it. And the other guys in this
And he
class-
grew. He grew an
and-
inch.
and he has offensive upside to max out in some different areas, and we just haven't seen a lot of guys like that. So the big question for the Mavs for me is just what's nailed down. I mean, are they going to just completely start over? Because it's like Kyrie's coming back. What is out of the realm of possibility for them in terms of what they could do to just springboard off of this?
Well, and the other thing with him, he just turned 18. Like, yeah, he grew because he just turned 18. I mean, he's a young fella. But go ahead.
Right. He's still taking like the long naps and getting up at 3 in the afternoon. I think he can play right away next year and be good. So for what they're trying to do, the question for me now is, could they flip Gafford or Lively and try to get one more score and try to buy time and just be in the playoff picture and then hope that Kyrie can come back April range and be in really good shape. I do wonder, there's 2 trades. Actually, there's 3 trades. And I don't think they should trade Flagg. I think they should keep him. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
But would you trade him to get Luka back would be the first trade. That would be the funniest outcome of all of it, right?
That's the funniest.
No,
that would be hilarious. I mean, they'd have to throw in contracts, but like, what would the Lakers do if they called and said, "Hey, we want Luka back. We'll give you Cooper Flagg and some contracts." Second, now I'll do a quick Giannis thing. That story today, I don't know what the hell that story was about. Giannis is now open to discussions about maybe what can happen down the road in the summer and the season. Did he ask for a trade? No.
He's actively open-minded, Bill. Have you never found yourself
open-minded
in
about
that?
his future? Who the fuck isn't? And by the way, he almost asked for a trade 2 years ago. I would assume every player who's one of the best players in the league who hasn't made the conference finals in 4 years and who the second best player in his team just had a season-ending injury and probably isn't playing next year, I would assume they're probably open-minded about some things about their future. Did he ask for a trade? No. How is this a story? This is what I call the Monday news thump house. We had the Friday news dump. The Monday news
open-minded.
Monday news
dying.
thump. Let's start the news cycle on a Monday morning with a story that's not really a story, but we get a whole day of conversation out of it.
You know who was actively open-minded? Frank in White Lotus. Sam Rockwell. He was actively open-minded.
I was trying
if
to
I had
think
a
of a
couple
good one
more
for that.
drinks tonight, I'm telling you about how actively open-minded I am.
I'm only
It's
laughing so I don't
amazing.
cry. Um,
Offense. Great job. Great
um,
job, Giannis.
I was
Great
like, you could ask Nico before the lottery, and he would have said he was actively open-minded about
wait,
getting the #1 pick. It's just like, yeah, well, I mean, just
oh wait, so Giannis is open-minded about maybe some other alternatives than playing for a 43-39 team? Really? He's gonna take some time to think about that?
Oh, God.
Anyway, if they tried to offer this pick for Giannis, which would be more on the timeline that Kyle Mann mentioned.
You said Thailand.
And time
So I
I
put an
said
ad in the
in your
paper
head.
for a white guy
uh,
who looked like me.
they'd have to match some contracts back, but Anthony Davis with Giannis, that's not nothing. And then the third thing is, and I don't think they should do this either. So I vote no in the first two trades. What would they have to throw in with the #2 if you're San Antonio to move up one spot?
Oh my God.
Now it gets interesting. If you really, and again, I would not trade Flagg, but if San Antonio was like, we'll just flip spots and here's a whole bunch of stuff. Like they have a war chest of picks. I probably would include anyone except Castle and obviously Wembanyama. But what I just wonder, like, could Dallas like actually turn this into a real haul? And
You didn't exclude De'Aaron Fox? You putting him on the table?
well, what am I gonna do with him and Kyrie? Kyrie's still in the team.
Kyrie ain't playing next year, buddy.
I know it's not.
De'Aaron Fox could play.
Be interesting to see
Listen,
if Kyrie's ever the same again, but I'm not ready to assume that at his age. I just think the Mavs are. The more you think about the roster, they are going to have some. They have some dissonance in the Gafford. I know that it's kind of up in the air. The Gafford, Lively, AD like Flagg thing. Even if they did somehow get into the Giannis conversation, Giannis and AD is fun to think about, but. Do we talk about the aging curve for Giannis enough though? He's 31 years old. He's a heavily downhill player. The shooting
can't really shoot. Yeah.
is how is it? I love him to death, but I just wonder how his game is going to age. And you just start to think about trading him and what's the upside? How much time are you really going to get? I don't know about. I don't
Can
know.
I
About
ask you a Cooper
longevity.
Flagg roster question?
Yeah, let's go.
Could you play him at small forward?
Yeah, why not?
Totally agree. Think that's honestly the best spot for him to get his
So they
NBA
could trot
feet
out
wet.
Lively with Anthony Davis and Flagg, and that's their front line, and he could guard, perimeter scorers, right, and get away with it. Flagg, no, why are you making
Because
gestures?
I want to
Alex?
hear Kyle's defense of Cooper's defense. If
Yeah.
he's going to play that shooting guard spot, that small forward spot,
Larry
and he's
Bird played
out-
it.
he's out guarding perimeter players in the modern NBA with the slash ability of a lot of the modern NBA. What's your honest assessment, Kyle?
Jacoby and I were texting about this because he noticed that the one thing, if you wanted to nitpick Cooper's defense, is that he does bend at his back a little bit in his posture. He doesn't sit as low as but he is also a generationally special help defender. So if you think about having, my God, if you just think about having AD and Flagg on the floor together, those are two of the best help. I mean, those are two of the best space covering disruptive defenders of the last ever. I mean, another thing too is that Flagg is a really good lob thrower. So you're putting another guy on the floor that can throw to
Wow.
AD. So those two things are interesting. In terms of like guarding the ball, I mean, he can guard 3s and 4s. I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
Also, he can grow into it. Maybe he's like a 25 to 20 minutes. I listen. There's no centers. Everybody needs a center, and if they wanted to shop Gafford, I mean, ironically, the Lakers are a team that could use a center. Maybe we could have a little Gafford, Austin Reeves trade finally, and
The make whole.
Mavs could throw in more stuff. I the last Dallas thing. House mentioned it earlier. They made the play-in game and won the lottery. They were in the play-in game and won Cooper Flagg. What if Memphis had just beaten them? Then they're the 8 seed. Remember that game? I think House and I bet on Dallas.
No, Memphis did beat them.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
I
how they
think we
ended up in the
bet. Did we
lottery.
bet on Dallas in that playing game?
I can't remember now. We bet on Dallas definitely to beat Sacramento, but then I think I laid away because the Memphis game was in Memphis, and it was like a chance for Memphis to prove that the whole season wasn't a waste. So I think we decided to stay away.
Well, House did this earlier, and I'm going to do my version of. I'm not saying these lotteries were rigged, but if we ever found out 60 years later that a lottery was rigged, these would be my candidates. Here's my list. Number one, Patrick Ewing, New York Knicks, 1985, with the 7 envelopes, and whether they froze the side of one of them. It would have been the easiest one to rig, put it that way. Number two is the Kyrie Cleveland 2011 after LeBron went to Miami. Number three was the 2019. Thanks for trading Anthony Davis to the Lakers. Now here's Zion Williamson. Number four was thanks for buying the New Orleans basketball team. Here's young Anthony Davis as your prize, 2012. Number five was the 2014. Man, LeBron just needs one more asset and he might go back to Cleveland. We'll give them number one pick. And then number six for me would be LeBron in Cleveland in 2003. Sending him
home
back to Ohio, home versus sending him to Memphis. So I'm not saying the NBA rigs the lotteries. I'm just saying if we ever found out 60 years from now that there was more than one shooter for JFK and there was one rigged lottery, those would be my choices.
The Magic getting Penny was pretty crazy, or getting Weber ultimately was pretty crazy percentage too, wasn't it? Wasn't it down there in the
it was
4% or something crazy like that? But I don't know. But I mean, that works against your argument, I guess, right? Any freak sort of movement in the odds.
But the against the arguments was how San Antonio just got Tim Duncan and Victor Wembanyama somehow, right? Those would be the two. San Antonio at number two, Kyle. So they get I mean, there's so much basketball news today. The Knicks are up 3-1. Tatum, God only knows how bad that injury was. We still don't know. Flagg goes to Dallas. Nico Harrison, I guess, saves his job. And yet buried in underneath all of this is, oh shit, I hope San Antonio doesn't get another awesome pick. And they end up getting number two, which you think is going to be Dylan Harper, right?
Yeah, I do. I thought a lot about it, and I think for them, if San Antonio does stay in the thinking that we were just talking about, where they could play this a number of ways. They could play this where they could potentially look at getting a bigger piece, because we know Victor is ready to roll. I mean, he's ready. He has been ready sooner than we thought. He's already on that defensive player of the year, track. They go and they get De'Aaron Fox to show their seriousness. Are they going to make one more move? But I think taking Harper, if you look at it just in the right now basketball sense, I wrote in our mock draft that just went up. If you want to check that out, we're going to talk about it more on the Ringer NBA draft show tomorrow. But he can play with Fox. He can play with any. They can bring him along slowly because he has such great positional size. But I also think that if they do choose to make a move, I think he's the best asset available. So he kind of serves both purposes, because Harper isn't quite the Flagg level. He's probably more on the Cade level of a number one pick type player if Flagg wasn't there. But I think he's the most attractive asset for if there's a team out there that is heartbroken, that wants to make a move, that wants to start over. Let's say hypothetically, just pulling the name out of the hat, Milwaukee, a great square one starting point. I think Harper serves that purpose. So I think they can do both there. I don't think I would go any other direction than Harper there.
Hey, news just broke that Giannis is open-minded about barbecue tonight.
Actively open-minded?
Also consider Ty.
So did Frank.
House, what needs to be in a Giannis trade if the number two pick is the prize of the trade to get Giannis? What else needs to be in there? Do I have to get Castle if I'm Milwaukee? Is it number two and I have to get both? Am I good with number two and a bunch of picks? Does Devin Vassell have to be in that trade? Who else needs to be in it for you?
The hard thing is, what are you trying to tell your fans? Isn't it better to tell your fans we had an awesome run? Giannis was with us. The title that he delivered, we had a once in a generation, once in a lifetime player here. He was loyal. He hasn't done anything wrong. He committed, he extended. They tried to build a good team for him to compete. If he goes, I think it's better to just be brutally bad. I just think it's better to start over. As many picks as you can get.
But they don't have their own picks is the problem.
They have to get as many picks as they can. That's what I'm saying. They need every pick that they can get and just jettison everybody, because otherwise, what's the point of 32 wins? what's the point of, does
Well,
Castle is Castle and Harper on the same, basically the same timeline? Is that like a good starting point? Does that like prime the pump a little bit for what a rebuild looks like?
You're still going to be
I,
bad. I think if
Right.
those are two, I
yeah.
mean, the
Yeah.
league, yeah, the bar, the bar is such that I think they're still going to be bad enough to pick. And yeah, go get the picks. But if I'm Milwaukee in this hypothetical scenario, yeah, I'm going to try to get Vassell. I'm trying to think. Johnson seems like he's going to be expendable to whatever they're doing here.
Well, you need
I don't know.
contracts to put in for Giannis trade is part of the problem. If I'm
Yeah,
San
big
Antonio,
number.
if I think Harper is going to be this good, what is Wemby like 21?
So
Like
young.
what
Hmm.
kind of timetable am I in anyway? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm the king of, hey, if you have somebody who's awesome, the timetable should start like pretty soon. But Wemby's still pretty young. From a Harper standpoint, like your absolute ceiling on him, could he be the second best guy on the title team? Like, is that the ceiling, or would you say third best guy?
I think he could be the second best. I mean, if you think the big thing for him is the dribble pull up shooting, if he can shoot the ball off the dribble, because he shot it pretty well off the catch in a really abysmal Rutgers offense. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how bad it
So they
was.
just had the worst coach ever. Like, how do you
No,
have two
I think
top
it's
four picks?
I think it's whenever I think there are a lot of factors at play. I think whenever you're a program that doesn't typically have those types of players, I just think they were top heavy in what they could pay for. I think just the whole rest of the supporting cast could not. Their bigs were awful. Their passing, and it hurt Bailey even more than it hurt Harper. But yeah, I think if he can improve the dribble pull up shooting, he gets downhill, he can pass. Tom Crean on our show was talking about how he needs to pass with his right hand a little bit better, but those are nitpicks. I think he's going to get there, but man, his footwork in the paint is really, really exceptional and really, really special. I mean, he shot something like 72% at the rim on like really, really high ball. That's like, big guy numbers.
So you had for player comps
Ron Harper.
a little James Harden-ish. There's some like a
These are
whiff of James
Danny's.
Harden in there.
I don't remember what I
Oh,
had
that
in
was
my
Danny's.
we both allowed each other the liberty to make our picks, so he would have to explain his thinking on it. But I kind of, I mean, my one that I had in my notebook is I said that he could thread a needle between Cade Cunningham and Jalen Brunson because his feet remind me of
Oh,
Jalen, but he's
that sounds like
bigger.
James Harden.
He's bigger. Yeah, I mean, he's not quite the natural passer that James is, but
Yeah.
yeah, his downhill stuff is exceptional. Yeah.
Would have been really good on the Wizards.
Sorry, House. Sorry,
I
Bill.
mean,
House,
I
what do you
was,
want? What do you want San Antonio to do? Just the long haul?
yeah,
Just
long
keep
haul.
adding young
Be
pieces.
on your,
Then you
yes,
could maybe
be on your
lure a
timeline.
free agent in 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think
Fox
that's
is
the
a
move too.
tremendous trade asset. Like it's kind of stupid. They just acquired him and I'm already ready to trade him, but I am ready to trade him
Yeah, but House,
because
that was a wink wink special though.
what's that mean?
We'll trade for you now and we'll give you a big contract in the summer or whatever. That's already a done
Talking
That's
deal.
about
fine.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah. The
Harper and
Spurs.
Fox can play together. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Why not?
I'm here
I
for it.
forget who said this on my pod. I really apologize. I think it might have been Goldsberry. I can't remember. About Fox playing with Sabonis, two lefties rolling off with the throwing the
Mm,
lob. Was that you, Kyle,
mm.
man?
No, I
Somebody
think
said
I think
that.
Kirk said that. I remember
It
Yeah.
him
sounds
saying
like a
that.
Goldsberry.
How weird it is to have a lefty driving left, but throwing lobs to a lefty where it's like now you have the Wembanyama and it just like makes more sense for the lobs. Philadelphia number 3. Oh, one more thing on San Antonio. So we end up beefing up those two teams. We might have lost Jason Tatum tonight for a year. Cleveland's completely self-combusted. And the West we go in these phases where it seems like finally the West, we're finally gonna get a league with a little more balance. And now the league feels more imbalanced than it's ever been. Think like we're gonna have an Indiana New York Eastern Conference Finals potentially, unless the Celtics can miraculously come back, which I wouldn't necessarily bet on. But now you look at like the two best guys in this draft that everybody feels the best about are both going to the West, combined with Luca still there, et cetera, et cetera. All right, Philly. So I asked you to send me a mock draft, Kyle, of just the top 6 or 7, and you had Ace Bailey going here to Philly, who is the most polarizing high draft prospect I can remember. People don't know what to make of this dude. And I got to admit, I haven't done the full deep dive of him yet, but pretty unusual. One of those guys who could have 27 points, 0 rebounds, and 0 assists. And that could just be his box score.
Yeah, I mean, this is one we can kind of. I think your points that you've made about him are valid based on what Morey has liked in the past. I think there's a couple ways to think about this. If
Okay,
Philly,
wait, we got to say what those points were because I was
oh,
texting them to you.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go
House,
ahead.
I was saying more. Daryl loves fill the box score guys.
Okay.
He loves like the 18 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. And
What's not to love?
Ace is kind of the opposite. But Kyle, you had Ace going to the Sixers anyway, but I thought you had a good case for it.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking about the Sixers, and I'll throw this to some of you for you guys for how you feel about what they're going to be thinking about. You know, are they going to make a serious run at rebooting this in the short term? I mean, you might as well. The Embiid thing's a whole other conversation, but I'm thinking of if you're going to run this back and try one more time, Bailey does fit with what they would be doing because their touches are spoken for with Embiid, with Paul George, with Maxey, with McCain when he comes back. Bailey is a guy who, for people who haven't watched him, the most similar guy in terms of his shot diet is Michael Porter Jr. in the fact that he makes a lot. He's a non.
House
What
just
a
made a
face!
face.
You both made faces. He's a
Like,
tough
okay.
shot maker,
Yeah.
and I think he's somebody. And one of his efficiencies were hurt by what we were talking about before. He's somebody that like at the end of the clock he can just make something out of nothing. So he has that, but he's also a pretty good athlete. There was a lot of Zach and I were talking about his measurement coming in. There were people that thought he was 6'10". I had heard that he was closer to 6'8.25". It turns out that's kind of closer to what he is, but he's a supplementary kind of a guy, but he's long and explosive off of one step. So he can kind of block shots. But my thing that I was saying to you about VJ, which is what you thought, VJ absolutely could fit the bill in what you're talking about in terms of he could turn it. He's somebody that's not going to be really role insistent early on. He's going to be able to play off the ball. He's a crazy athlete. He measured really well. I think it's 6'5". I need to get the exact number.
We needed him to get to 6'5" to be, I think, the third pick, right? Because you were worried he was going to basically be like a 2 guard.
Yeah, I was
We
worried.
needed him to be a little bit bigger so he could guard basically every position.
I was worried he was going to be like a Ben Gordon type, where it's like,
Right.
oh, he's a great athlete. And it's like, shit, he's like 6'2.5" with it. But
Right.
no, he measured well. My thing was, I kind of wondered about McCain, Maxey, and Edgecombe together. I just the way that those guys play together, they're a little on the smaller side. All three of them are. And when you're moving forward, but I could honestly that one I could kind of go either way. But I thought Ace fit more into what they have right now, and he could improve a lot over time.
My money would be on Edgecombe. Just feels like more of a Daryl pick. Hey, meanwhile, House, you're not getting either guy.
That's a true
Both
story.
of them are off the board by the time.
Yeah, well,
the
because
Wizards are up.
the Sixers really earned it. The Sixers really, they have a vision with their franchise. They're in the development. This is my one question, and I guess I'll go into the Philly message boards to get this. What's the track record for this iteration of the Philadelphia coaching staff? In terms of development, because either Ace or Newcomb, those are both development players. They're not NBA ready, in my humble opinion. They can come in and be on the floor, but they're not NBA competitive ready. So what is, in the first place, Philadelphia has to answer, who are we? What are we going to do this upcoming season? Are we going to try and, make a deep run in the playoffs, or is this a transition year? And then question 2, how are we going to develop this kid that we're going to get at number 3?
Or do you package 3 and Paul George and try to get somebody?
Love that. Love that.
There you go.
That's a Daryl
like-
Morey.
It's like, hey, any interest in the last 3 years of Paul George's contract, but you also get the number 3
Wait,
pick in
come
the
back.
draft? And then, I wish Rudy was on the Zoom quick so I could throw out the Franz Wagner for Paul George in number 3.
Oh,
That's not
yeah.
fair.
Yeah, it's not a
fair.
not interesting trade.
What about? I mean, Miami needs it more. I don't know.
But
who
Miami doesn't
sends
have any
back.
assets other
They
than
have
Bam.
nothing. Miami has nothing.
That's my favorite when people list the Giannis teams and they're like in Miami. It's like, what the fuck is Miami trading?
Miami.
They're trading Bam out of bio for Giannis, and then
Oh.
Giannis has nobody on his team.
Yeah, great.
Couple more interesting things about Philly. 2 GMs saved their jobs tonight. It feels like Because if that pick falls to 7, I don't think Daryl gets fired tomorrow, but I think he really needed that pick. Now there's positive momentum in a whole bunch of different ways. And then Nico Harrison, obviously, we were headed toward, God only knows what. We didn't talk about this with the Dallas piece. I forgot to mention it. I know a lot of Mavs fans. I won't name two of them that have told me this, that after the Luka trade just did not want to root for the team anymore.
Oh, you don't say.
This-
That wasn't that wasn't
Well,
plain.
but literally it
Not
was like, I'm
self-evident.
out. And then they got Flagg and they're like, I'm still out. I don't know
Oh,
if I
still
believe
out.
that.
You got
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
message tonight?
I don't know if I believe that. I think
mean,
that's
there's
just
a-
somebody
there's-
being wounded, but I
there's a-
think they come back for Flagg.
I think they
just
feel the way they're going to go through the phase of mad at Nico for it working out for him. Like I think we're going to go through that phase, and then they'll slowly be softened into sort of a, I don't know, a blissful nihilism or something. I don't know. It just seems like
I
that
feel
seems like
like
that's the reaction
I'm
immediately, right?
allowed. It's late night on the BS pod. Can I say that he's the white fit? I mean, you go from Dirk to Luca to Cooper. There's a certain through line, a certain commonality there that seems like it might suit the situation.
the league is built around luck. You can make the worst trade in recent history of professional sports, and then it works out. You could be playing the best game, one of the best games of your career, and all of a sudden be rolling around in a heap. Now I'm depressed again. I can't believe this Jason Tatum thing. I feel like I'm like one of those things where I'm in shock and it hasn't set in yet. And then I'm going to look back 2 hours from now and be like, how did I do a hour-long YouTube live?
Called shock. Yeah.
Well, could Philly be good next year would be another question.
You said positive momentum. I'm like, the more we're talking about it, it's like, is it that positive?
Well,
If
they got
what's house
McCain
is-
they got McCain and the number 3 pick coming back next year, and then maybe keep your fingers crossed. Who knows? Embiid possibly, sort of, maybe.
No. Let's set the over under for number of games he plays in the regular season 2025, 2026. I'll set it at 35 and a half.
How he's what, 31?
It doesn't matter. I don't know. 30, 31, 32, whatever he is.
Charlotte ends up with the 4th pick, and that's going to be whoever Philly doesn't take between Bailey and Edgecombe, or is there a
should
Trey
change
Johnson potential there?
31, by the way. You said
31.
Charlotte. Let me pull up my
4th pick, Charlotte. They should just change their name.
Yeah.
4th
Well,
pick, Charlotte.
I had him taking Edgecombe because I thought that he was a nice he's a nice balance between, if they really are going to lean in
I
and
like that.
keep the Brandon Miller LaMelo thing going. Those two are big wings who can handle and pass and dribble, pull up, shoot. I think they needed somebody to get downhill. They really need something to balance out that trio. And I think Edgecombe is a guy who is less usage insistent compared to those two guys. I think he'll be happy to play the role that he'll play. So and also he's a lob threat too. I don't think people understand. I compared him to the way he jumps. He's incredibly fast off of the floor. Have you gotten to even see Edgecombe yet? Just he is.
You were
fucking
encouraged me to
Superman.
do so, but
I did. I did the
saved
work
it
too.
because I
Yeah.
thought we were going to get 1, 2, or 3. I was saving
Yeah.
my Edgecombe. I was like, oh, downside scenario. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to look at the guy who's going to get taken 4th because my team's not going to get. You're not going to be drafting 4th, but So no, I haven't looked at him.
There's no chance he can go 2nd, right? Like you would just rule that out, cross it off. It's not happening.
Anything's possible. I mean,
Like, do you think Harper has 2nd locked up? Because I think when teams work out Edgecombe and really look at it's just the kind of guy you need and the kind of guy you've needed in the NBA for 20 years,
he's a shade. They're a push in terms of their age. I just think that Harper is just so much more advanced than him in terms of like his on-ball creation and stuff like that. But the counter is, VJ was a pretty good. If you watch him shoot the ball, he kind of looks like an athlete who has learned to shoot. It's not as natural. But I'm not down. He will get there. I mean, you see, like OG has developed into a great shooter, but obviously apples and oranges on that. But I mean, VJ, I still feel like Harper is a solid number 2. The Spurs, though, I mean,
Who knows? Yeah,
they
they'll
always seem to
zag.
kind of have their own board. And you
They'll
talk to
zag.
some of these teams. I've
Fair
talked to
point.
teams who'd be like, We had so and so number two, and you just kind of are bowled back by that. You can get a little drunk and misled by the public, thinking that the public discourse is the same as the behind closed doors discourse.
Yeah.
And I think people would be a little shocked by how different it can be sometimes.
Well, and then you have Con Knipple going to Utah at 5, and I just want to say he's my favorite in this draft. Just because I like him because he's a listener. So shout out to him.
Hey,
You listen to the
KJ.
show?
Yeah, he listens. There's a picture of him reading my book when he's like 8 years old. So he's now my favorite player in the draft because I'm selfish.
You didn't tell me that. Did you know that from the beginning?
I
when you
only
said-
found it out last week because I kept
Okay.
talking about how much I liked him. Because remember, I kept saying that I thought he
I
was
can
going to go 5
confirm.
spots too late. But now it seems like he's not going to go 5 spots too late. You think he's going to go in the top 7.
Yeah, I mean he's an awesome player, and I think he's gonna do both. He has great size. They need passing and they need shooting, and he is gonna be a great fit in that sense. Like he's gonna
So you
immediately
in on him?
Yeah,
I'm super in on him. He can play basketball.
he's a hooper.
He's a hooper. I love that he's always trying to get to the paint. He's not like dilly-dallying out here. Let me see. No, man's going downhill. He's trying to get to the paint. He's welcoming the contact. He's got that big body, 6'7", 220. That's a baller. And his instincts in terms of offensive rebounding. I don't know what the numbers are. I'd let Kyle share. I just felt like he was always around the basket when Duke needed, a hand on a ball, a tip, something like that. Big KK fan.
That leads us to the Wizards at number 6. What do you
I
got,
was gonna
Kyle?
say, Knipple, I wanted to add this on there. 49% on spot up looks this year, and 39% on off screen. Yeah, he's a dynamic
Jesus.
shooter, and he
And
can
how
pass.
old is he? Is he? What's the age for him?
Knipple's
20?
almost 20. Yeah, but it can vary a lot. That
This
makes
is the picture of him reading my book.
We're
That's
on him.
amazing.
Let's get Utah to send us.
I'm gonna have him on. I gotta have him on, right?
Well, I want a Knipple jersey. Get Utah to send us some
He's
Knipple
he's my
jerseys.
favorite player. It's a picture of him as a kid reading my book. That's all I need. I don't need any other data.
And I can corroborate. Bill texted well before he got that.
I
news.
did. You could just tell. My certain the people who are always moving without the ball.
Yep,
and
yep, yep.
Are
Those are your
additive.
guys.
Those are always the guys I'm going to be drawn
That's right.
to.
That's
So
I love
number
the-
6.
Yeah. All right. House didn't seem to like this, but I was thinking, I think there could be some serious movement. I think there could be. I like the hypothetical of what they could add here because Sar is hypothetical. There's that word again. Take a drink. Stretch big. He obviously is not super comfortable around the basket yet. Playing with force. That's been an issue. Are you waiting for me to call on you?
No, I'm waiting because I am going to surprise you. So
Okay,
please complete your thought.
I think they have a chance here. Now that you've fallen, you can really lean into an identity of just being gigantic. I think that if you put Malawach next to Sar, next to Koulibaly, that already is a crazy young, huge front court. But also at 6, I could see like Atlanta really needs a guy like Malawach. I could see somebody reaching up who needs an anchor. Like they're one example. I haven't heard a ton of buzz about that, but that's one just kind of hypothetical idea that I was thinking about for the Wiz. Lean into being huge.
I fucking love Malawach. Not only do I love him, this is an honest to God truth. I tried to make the case for him during the NCAA tournament because of how impactful he was controlling the defensive boards and his shot blocking early in the tournament. I tried to convince my guys on East Coast bias to join me on I think it was like 175-1 for him to win most outstanding player in the Final Four. Because the way that he can control on defense, the impactfulness, I think it's an incredible fit. He's exactly on the timeline that these young guys are on. They're all basically the same age, between 18 and a half and 20 and a half at best. And what they are missing is indeed a defensive presence, a low post shot blocker, rim protector. Kassar wants to be out on the perimeter, and that's fine. His feet are good. He can go out and defend 3s and 4s a little bit. And Koulibaly, if he just needs a little more ass on him. I might have to take him out eating. here in DC. I got some spots for him.
Content. There we
Need
go.
some calories for the man.
Yeah.
But
isn't the
I
whole
think
point of Sar is like he's basically can be Serge Ibaka, right? So you can play those two together.
absolutely you can. Yes.
And yeah, it's just I don't think he gets past 6. I'd be
I'm bullish.
surprised. And
I'm bullish on him.
I've done admittedly not nearly enough work on this draft yet, but it felt like the 5 guys, and then I would throw in. I think Trey Johnson's going to go. I think you probably have Knipple 2 spots too high. I think I'd be surprised if he goes top 5 because I think Trey Johnson will be the other one that rises up, and I think teams will. And I say this, having the most Knipple stock. As we get closer to the draft, he's the type of guy teams start talking themselves out of because they go to the combine and they're like, oh man, this guy jumped 43 inches. Oh, now I have him 5th.
Start looking at those spreadsheets and talking.
Yeah, there's going to be
things.
2 guys
Yeah.
that climb, right? And so Knipple will probably be in that 7 to 9 range would be my guess, which, by the way, some decent teams in there, including New Orleans. Poor Brooklyn, by the way. Not poor Brooklyn because it was all self-inflicted, but you know, they were trying to tank more than anybody. Their coach was Dennis Schroeder. They had these guys winning games early. They had to get rid of guys, dump guys, and then ended up kind of in the vicinity of everybody else. And now they're 8. So not awesome. And then the other one was Houston, I guess, that was having dreams of maybe climbing up in the top 4, but was not able to do that. All right, House. So it seems like we figured out who you want to draft.
I love it.
You want the 7'2" guy?
Yes. Out of all the possibilities, that would help soothe some of these wounds.
He did suggest that we draw a butthole for the guide, though. I just think people should know that. I don't know, House.
Well, no, it wasn't with respect to any particular player that may be there.
Just
My
your anger,
suggestion was there was an artistic rendering for sort of each player, and my recommendation to Kyle was for 6 for Washington for them falling there. Just do a pencil etching of my butthole. Just put that in there. You don't need the face of any.
I don't want the
player there.
reference image for that, so I don't know. No,
Frank from White Lotus gets it. Frank
angry.
gets it.
Bill, is this a normal thing? Is angry how he gets the graph of Joe being angry and his funniness? The lines just kind of go side by side.
Well,
the
usually there's
angrier he
drinks
gets, the
too.
funnier. he
Yeah,
gets.
if you're doing the House formula, there's probably some cocktails. Were there cocktails tonight, House?
Yeah, man, it's my birthday. It's for another
Oh, yeah, I
45
forgot about
minutes.
that.
Big
Your
bro.
birthday was today? I should
Yeah,
probably
we
have
got
known
some
that
drinks.
since we've been friends since 1988.
We're old, man. We're good. As middle aged, we don't be counting.
Listen, we made it to another birthday, House.
I know it's another excuse to
This is
go grab a
great.
couple drinks. I'll tell you that much. And I did have a couple. And then I doubled when I saw that we fell to 6. But we're in good shape.
For a birthday present, Adam Silver delivered the number 6 pick to House.
Did a pencil etching of my butthole.
All right, we're gonna pack it in. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget, I'm gonna be on Zach Lowe's podcast tomorrow. He's gonna talk about behind the scenes. He said it was pretty crazy as people were realizing what was happening with the balls. So I'll be on there tomorrow. Thanks to Gahau. Thanks to Eduardo as well. I really hope by some sort of miracle, Jason Tatum, it wasn't as bad as it seemed, but I guess we will find out tomorrow morning. Thanks to everybody who stayed on the YouTube stream as well. See you next time.